Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Steve with Clean Mesh Studio, and we're going to be going over yet another Philogix PBR Painter Pro tutorial on version 3. In this one, I'm going to show you how to stack anchors and how to stack layers and run them down in an order that makes sense, and you come up with some really cool stuff. So if you look here, what I did is I anchored this material, painted it on, then I used this as an actual custom layer, and then I put height to both of them, so I've got this double stack layer. This was actually the thumbnail for the video I just did, but I was thinking, gosh, if somebody sees that, they'll be like, how did I do that? So, take you to the next level. Alright guys, before we jump in, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and go on over to Blender Market and pick this up. I've got a bunch of tutorials on it. They do sponsor me, but Philogix will kind of take the need away for you to export everything and you have to go to Substance Painter and do all this crazy stuff back and forth. Show you how to do this little trick with the background if you don't know, and then we will go in and do our layer system. So without any waiting, just go ahead and hit all and delete. I'm not even going to save it. What is that, downloading dirt? What's going on over here? I gotta pull up my Blender Market, my Blender kit, see what's going on here. Turn on screencast keys first so you guys can see what I'm doing. There it is, Blender kit's been trying to download something. That's maybe why my screen was lagging up so bad. Hey, at least it told me what it was doing, right? Alright, let's do the usual, and I'll just Shift A and drop in the Suzanne. Seems to be like a pretty good model to work with. G and Z to bring it up, scale it out just a touch, shade it smooth, make it look a little funny for now, and I'm going to come over here and sub it 2 times. Keeps it pretty good. I think everybody can kind of follow along with that, and I think I created material by accident. Let me get rid of that. Alright, so as usual, Control S, save that, then you can work up here, click New Pick Shader, go in, select everything. Yes, this is version 3, and I'm going to go ahead and bake that. So I just baked that, and it took like 5 minutes to bake, and I was like, what in the world's going on? I went up here to look, and it was set to none instead of optics, like where it should be for your NVIDIA card. Just a little thought there, if you guys are taking a long time to render, double check you're not doing CPU rendering. Make sure you're under GPU compute. And then also you can kind of scroll down here to performance under the render tab. Scroll down, 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 and click persistent data. So when you're rendering, it will remember part of the actual render for multiple frames. Pretty sure that just pertains to making, keyframing animations, but I just leave it checked anyways. Alright, straight to it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in a base layer. And cool thing, I didn't mention it before, but if you see this little symbol right here next to any one of these objects, it means it's a smart material. And you can see that little icon right there. That actually means it's a smart material. So the cracked asphalt and those other ones are not actually smart materials. But the rust, the steel, the copper, this smart steel here all are, and the plastic, the bronze is, and the bone. And for this tutorial, I'm actually going to choose aluminum. That's like one of my favorite things. I just love aluminum. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to box as usual, so that way it's red around the mesh better, and then we have our blend option when we need it. Alright, so just like I did in the last tutorial, and I'm actually going to kind of slow things down just a little bit, I'm going to grab a custom layer under the base and give that just a second. Then I'm going to name that as an anchor. Now from here I can grab an image, and I'm going to be making that myself. We'll put that as box. I may change that back to UV if it doesn't look right. I'll click new, and I'm still under 2048. For some reason it always remembers that now. And I'll hit OK, give it a second, and then click paint. And then, as usual, because I have brush limitations in my life, I'm going to go back and just grab something from the blender kit and start painting some actual dirt here. Alright, so that does look pretty funky, so box isn't going to work with that. It's trying to actually project my painting. I don't want that, so I'm painting across the UV anyways. So I'll make sure my strength is up, and I'm still here. It says finish, so I didn't click anything wrong. And now I could actually add some neat little deformity to this if I really want. And I am absolutely not a painting artist. I'm getting a little better, I think, controlling it, but I've just enjoy teaching the interface and learning some different things. So I'll grab another brush up here. I'm going to grab this neat little circle, and that's not where I wanted it. Let's go right about to the middle of the eye. This is going to be Suzanne the Spot, right? Spot monkey. Now let's see if I can find something else. Good old trusty bark. Suppose we can just put some bark all over Suzanne's mouth. Maybe a little bit of bark in the ears. Give it just a little bit of flair. Looks pretty good. And then if you bring the brush size up to its maximum and then just hit it one time, just one left click, you get a much bigger pattern. So keep that in mind if you're trying to randomize or customize whatever you're doing. And now our little spot bark monkey here, what do we want to do with this? We want to get the height information over here to what we just painted. So I have already labeled this as an anchor, so I can call this anchor 1, and I'll come over to height, add a layer, and I'll just call this H anchor 1 without that asterisk or whatever that was. And now I'll just pull down the anchor right here, and it should have a material, and it does. So here's our base material, and once we apply that, we've now got this really cool height information coming out of the Suzanne. And of course that is literally just one thing you can do. So I do want to bring the opacity down a little bit, as I do in the videos, and I'm going to go back over to base, bring that down a little. Let me grab the original material. Looks like the blend is doing a little something for us on this one. That's so cool how it actually displays the UV map as you're drawing it. Now what I want to do, see, I'm under the base and it looks like I'm under the UV map, so let's drag the opacity back a little bit. There we go, there's my aluminum. And you see it keeps all the height information and some of the color as well. So you could kind of brighten this thing up, maybe bring this opacity back. Now we have got the color mostly there. Yep, it looks pretty good. So now what we can do is under the base, I didn't click finish. Got to click finish. Under the base, I'm going to add another layer. And this layer is now going to be named camo for camouflage. So I'll just say C-O, I can't even spell today, C-A-M-M-O. I'm getting tired. I just ate like a whole medium pizza. You think that'd be not a lot really, but it's putting me down. I'm about to go to sleep. So I'll come down here. I'm gonna go from UV to box for this particular layer. Now this is going to overlay the camo. So what I can do is wait for that to pop up. And now actually all of our height information and everything is still there. So let's see, I'm gonna shift this down one. There we go. And now it's underneath the layer I want showing. So remember the stack here, if you've got it labeled instead of material 1, 2, and 3 plus your base, which is going to get confusing, just go ahead and name everything. And that is H as in height anchor. This is material one right here. I can leave that, it's fine, don't want to get too confusing. So underneath the base, I could add some more layers if I want to, but what I want to do is I want this camouflage to give off some height information as well. Alright, so we've got the top layer that we did, and now we've got the secondary layer. The top layer has height information, the secondary does not. So under camo, I've named that an anchor, so you can see it here, it's named an anchor. So if I go over to height at this point and then just pull down the anchor, what I'll see is camo base color. And so if I assign height now to that, you can see we've actually got height on the camouflage now. It has some actual depth. And it is kind of overriding everything, so maybe if you wanted to take down the height anchor over here and bring it down just a little bit, you'd get more of the camouflage, or maybe that's what you want all together. And bring all that down so it's just the camouflage showing the height information. I'm personally going to leave a little bit of that up. You can do it how you wish. And then kind of play around with that. And you could repeat the process, rinse and repeat, and add some more things to it. So if I come back over here and go to like material 1, and I can play around with the opacity here and pull that back, and now it's the full color obviously. And let's see, I'm going to bring this opacity back and then bring this one up. And I'm on our first anchor right here. So now I don't have any of the color of the previous stuff, but I have the height information. So just, you have to oscillate between these two. So you'll get like an idea, oh, the parameters are going to be a little bit different. So if I come back up here, and then that will come back, and I'll get the actual color and a little bit more of the depth. It's a little bit more confusing visually that way. I kind of like it like right there. You've got this indentation, so you've made whatever marks into the model that you were looking for, hopefully. Now for what I consider the more fun part, actually. I'll hit the end panel to get rid of that, and I got our crazy looking Suzanne here. I'm going to just drop in a plane, and I'll scale the plane up a touch. And I'll scale it up a little bit more. So from here I'll just jump into edit. I'm going to grab edge select, I'll right click and then shift right click here and hit E to extrude. I'll tap Z to bring this up on the Z axis. Jump back out into object mode, and I come over here and I'm going to grab a modifier. I'm going to grab the bevel, and I'm actually going to add that to my quick favorites by right clicking and adding. So then you can hit Q and bevel. So something like the amount being 20 for the segments. Actually didn't want that there, so you can bring this one back a touch. I think like 0.05 is probably pretty good. You can bring it up a little bit if you want, and then I'll hit Q again, and I'm going to shade smooth. If you don't have access to that, just hit your space bar, search, type in the word shade, and you'll get shade smooth. Now for a little extra fun, under the shading you can harden normals if you need it. Don't think you really need it with this. Under geometry, if your corners were giving you some kind of funky business, you go from miter outer, from sharp to arc, and it will make things smoother in corners. And you get a warning that says about auto smooth, so just go to the green triangle, the vertex, and enable auto smooth. Now everything will be a heck of a lot smoother. Not necessarily an infinite background, but one that doesn't have a bunch of seams in the back. I just find it extremely annoying to have those hard edges that you get. So if I go back to the bevel and turn this amount all the way down, that's usually what you see. Not very professional, doesn't look good to me. So I kind of blend that in until I can't see too much shading. You can bring your actual limit method angle to 60 degrees, and that will actually smooth it out a little bit more. It's not noticeable so much in this setup, and I think that's about it. You could just apply that bevel, and that might even remove some more shading. So let's jump over to the shading workspace, and I'll just zoom in a little bit here. We don't need too much, and I've got the background we just made selected, so I'll click new, and I'm going to come over here to the Principled BSDF. If you don't know what this is, The principal BSDF is the one shader that tries to like do everything pretty good. It doesn't do it well, but it does everything good. So what I'll do is I'm going to grab the base color and left click drop it, and I'm going to type in GRAD for gradient color, and then I'll just drop it. You'll see it's going to start pulling a gradient texture in for us. Now what I'll do is I'll Shift A and I'm going to go input, and let's see if I can figure out where these are because it's trying to hide it. I can't pull the texture coordinate up in the search for some reason now. So I'm going to drop this little texture coordinate over here. Then I can hit spacebar and type in map and get a Shift A vector mapping node. And I'm going to put that right about there. Then what I want to do is I want to color ramp. So I'm going to type in ramp, and I get this group color ramp for some reason. It's not popping up. Maybe it's because they're trying to do away with it and just have this more advanced color ramp here. So if you were like right click and highlight it and hit tab, it'll throw you in and show you what's inside of that, show you the guts in there. So that's pretty cool, but I really just want the ramp. So I'm gonna hit Control C right here, and then I'll hit tab, and then I'll just right click anywhere and hit Control V, and I can take this and delete it, and I'm going to drop the color ramp right here. Now what I want to do is do some lazy clicking, and I'll hit Alt right mouse and click and drop that there. And if you do that here, it's going to try to put it on generated, and generated does not help us, so let go of that, grab object to vector, and that will give us a lot more control over what we're looking for. So here what we want to do is grab the rotation, maybe put it to something like 90, and what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to kind of play around with this because it's not going to do what we want right away. So the color ramp has a lot of power as well, so I'm going to kind of bring those corners in a little bit. You can see the shade fade right here. The color ramp is going to help you fine tune everything. But I'm going to go from linear to ease, and I'm going to come over to from point to vector, and then I'm going to go to the gradient and go from linear to easing. And now this should all line up a little bit better and should be able to get a little bit more of what I want. You see we're starting to pivot a little bit, if you will. And then you've got your scale, and you can start bringing it in and out. Really the results are totally up to you how you want to do it. So I may end up doing just a little bit different than before, but I'll take the Z and put it to something like 45 degrees. I like that. Looks pretty cool. So from here we can have this like spread out color spectrum going on. So I'm going to left click in the little black area right here on the color ramp, and I'm going to change this color because I can. And I'll change this one to like a nice deep green, kind of like match our camouflage. And now I'm also going to drop this little arrow down right here, and I'm going to distribute these stops from the left, and that's going to give us even more precision control. So these are just two colors. You got white and you've got green. Now you could click on the white area, you can change that, or you can hit the plus symbol and add yet another color and then adjust your sliders. So what do you want this color to be? Anything you want. I think like a nice yellow or orange. It's starting to look like a football team color, but that's fine. I don't have any favorites. I'm going to pull the white in a little bit more, and you see that nice blend effect we're getting. That's from the ease. And so I can pull this one in. I'm going to add one more. May or may not all be equal, and you can flip this completely opposite if you wish. I'll grab this one, and I'm thinking something like maybe blue. Oh, I like that. That kind of a teal color looks good. And I destroyed it. Come back. Let's go back to that again. And kind of brighten that up just a little bit. Alright, so that looks good. And that is one way you can control a gradient, and then you can kind of play around with this however you want and make an absolute ton of background designs. Make your stuff a little more custom. I think it's going to actually look a little bit better than not doing anything at all. And I'll grab this green because it's kind of bugging me at that. There we go. I'm going to brighten everything up a little bit. I'll go back to the layout. Oh, and just another thought. Back in shading, if you really want to spice this up a little bit more, grab your normal, left click, drop it, type in BUMP for bump, and you're going to bump the normals. And now what we can do is take the height, since we're playing around with height information, left click, drop that, and type in noise. And what we'll do is we'll pull up a noise texture factor and just give that a moment, and that will give you some actual depth behind it, right? So scale at 10 is what this node absolutely loves, 10. Just know that. Now I can take object from here and plug that into the vector as well. And there we go. Now we're working with some pretty cool depth. And if you wanted to come back over to the layout, left click, I mean you can left click right here on the eyeball, it doesn't matter where you put it. We'll just drop a camera right in her eye and then put Control Alt 0, and well, you can just render this thing out. And as you see, I am doing 4K. I've only got 50 samples, but that's already starting to look pretty good. I didn't do much with the distortion, so you can actually raise the height information a little bit more if you want. I'm just adding the actual depth effect. Not worried too much about how it looks on the backside. So there you go. I hope this was helpful and it steps your game up. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you in the next tutorial.